All right, off and on the clock. We're doing a special Wednesday edition. Normally the show will be on Friday afternoons, but we're traveling. John's already in Vegas, but Nez and I are going to run a little two-man game here because we got a big slate to preview. It's the week 1 slate on Underdog Fantasy. The lobby is packed with contests. And guess what? We also have some special announcements, maybe some special contests that might just happen to be dropping midstream today. We're going to get to that. We're going to do a slate overview. We're going to give you our favorite scroll the F down plays. And then we will wrap up as we always do in season, going through the lobby, shopping around for some nice pick'ems. We'll get spicy. We'll take advantage of some of these promos here on Underdog. I'm Pete. This is Off and On the Clock. It's time, guys. Let's do it. All right, Nez, we are here. I get so excited to do this show in season, just having the weekly slates, the pick'em lobby ready to go, man. I truly feel like a kid on Christmas morning right now.
I mean, we're truly back in the saddle. Pete minus John, of course, going to miss John's spicy plays and suggestions for us when we get to the pick'em segment. But man, it feels like you said, just right back at home. And this is like a really fun slate, I think, to get started with for the main.
Yeah, I was a little slow on getting into the streets this morning. I ripped a bunch of drafts. I've been working on my video that's going to post on the Deposit Kingdom later this week, generally on Fridays. Given my favorite plays, I'll definitely tease some of them here. But yeah, looking through the slate, I mean, there's probably two factors, right? One, it is like a deeper slate. There's obviously no buys, not a ton of injuries, but there's also the hopium factor, right? Like
Right.
all of these players we've been drafting, there's no bear cases. None of these guys are mired in a 20% snap share right now. It's just all best case scenario. So when you scroll through the slate, you're like, I can see it for this guy. I can see it for him. I can see it for him.
It's great. There's a bunch of evils we don't know, and I don't even acknowledge them at all. But because of that too, I think with the week 1 factor, and given the deepness of the slate or the depth of the slate, I guess they're just it seems pretty flat, like across like rounds 1 through 6. I don't know if you feel similarly, but when we get to breaking down each of these games one by one, I have trouble like thinking, oh yeah, like here's the first round, no questions asked. Here's how I think, picks 1 through 6 should go. Partly because some of these wide receivers have been holding out all camp, so we don't know how quickly they're going to be up to speed for game day.
Yeah, and I mean, I've started to look at some projections. There's some early projections out. I know over at Fantasy Life, we got some ETR released theirs last night, and it's kind of always the same dynamic. I feel like, right, where there are some of these guys who separate at the top. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is going to separate. These guys like Bijan who have this workload can separate, but then I look at the players who go 15 through 36, and I'm like, are they that different from the players who go 36 to 60?
No, it really feels like, you were talking about, I think it was you on one of your videos, like eliminating rounds like 14 through 16 or 17 and just like immediately going to that other tier. That's really how it feels with these like picks 20 through 36, or 20 through 32, I guess you could say.
Right. And, as the season goes on, right, the player pool is going to constrict. There are going to be guys who are no longer playable. Our hopium is going to be completely drained. And then you do have to ask yourself the question, am I getting too fancy? Am I scrolling too far down? But right now,
every draft.
Exactly. But this has always been the same with salary cap DFS too. Like week 1 is the chance to get weird because the ownership is condensing in a way where everyone's guessing, and yet it will still condense. Like someone will have an opto, someone will have the ADP solidified and draft off of that. And yet the error bands here are wider than they will ever be. So if you ever want to get weird on a slate, man, like this is the one.
And Pete, I know we're talking main slate here, but have you dabbled with any of the primetime paloozas?
I haven't. I did get to listen to your episode that you and John did the other day. Thank you for servicing the audio listeners.
Yeah.
By the way, you had my interest peaked. I've just had to like cut some things out. I get it. There's been so many things. I wanted to get more entries into the sprint. I wanted to do primetime palooza, and I'm fighting for my life, Nez, to get all of my content done before a 6 a.m. flight tomorrow. And it's just no primetime paloozas for me. I've sit this one out.
Okay. That's fair. It's a mind bender too. It's quite the pretzel. So probably in your best interest not to dedicate too much brain power when all you need to do is make sure your content's ready and getting yourself to Vegas. Cause that in and of itself is an entire performance for you there too. So if you want, I can go ahead and pull up the Roto Grinders
Yeah.
week, and we can just kind of get right into this thing.
Yeah, let's talk through this slate. We obviously have 12 games on the slate, 8 early, 4 in the 4 p.m. slot. What were kind of some of the things that jumped out to you? Because I feel like later in the season we tend to get more like game environment focused. Like, what are these games that we like? Where do we want to be taking stabs? At least early right now, I feel like I'm slightly game environment agnostic. I just feel like
Yeah.
there's so many different plays I like. Obviously, I'm going to stack, my quarterback with a pass catcher. Like, I'm not, but other than that, like, I'm fine just pulling one-offs from all around on this slate.
Yeah, I think I really approach each contest differently, and really like the main BR contest where it's 300,000 in prizes, 30K to first. I am honestly not trying to double stack there, like actively
Yeah.
not doing that, at least right now. That you will have your slates where, like, your Sage, Tank Dell, double or Stroud double stack slates like you had, where it does make sense, where there is a lot of leverage to be had. But on this slate, yeah, I'm really just kind of looking for alpha plays, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, from in building out my lineup smartly. And I think there's a couple of different decision points. I know we're looking at Roto Grinders lineup page right now, but I think like just a real quick glance at the top of ADP could like kind of help set the scene before we get into like game by game.
Yeah.
This is like the main slate, right? And I think the first round sort of gives you some decision points. I think so. The first is, what do you do with the Josh Allen ADP? I know I've kind of waffled back and forth on it. I landed on it actually being good and fine at the moment. And then like the tight end decision points as well after that. It's like, what are you going for one of these top three, or you can consider Pitts there, but he's banged up right now. On top of that, that's the big decision point to me is, what do you do in with these first three picks, and how do you attack tight end is kind of like the most thought processing that I've done on the main slate.
Yeah. I as kind of an elite QB bear, it won't surprise you that I don't like Josh Allen at 103. I don't think it's crazy, but I've been taking Bijan and Jefferson ahead of him, which means I'm going to basically have
that's not crazy.
Josh Allen. But yeah, I think to me he slots in there. Then you get to Achane, Taylor, Nico, like that feels right. But I think the kind of alpha ceilings you can get from Bijan and Jefferson, I want that. And then when I look at like Tyreek Hill in Lamb, I like stacking with Tua or Dak. Jefferson, I don't think it's insane to stack him with Darnold as a low owned piece, and just knowing if he goes for 30, like Darnold's going to score 25 plus there. So all of these other plays give me kind of correlated angles, really high ceilings. And I don't know, the Josh Allen thing is tough. Like obviously with Kincaid, that works out well. Like, are you just doing it naked? Are you going Shakir? Are you going Coleman? Like nothing seems super clean to me with the Josh Allen click there at 3.
Yeah, I honestly think he's going to be stacked with Kincaid often.
Yeah.
So my I don't even think it's too Galbrain, because our starting rosters have 6 players, 5 including the quarterback. I don't think a naked Josh Allen is the craziest thing in the world, because it could be Samuel, it could be Shakir, it could be Coleman. And to be quite honest, I don't think that's necessary even if one of those guys do blow up, to like have them in the Josh Allen stack.
Yes. Yeah. I honestly think that's the way to do it, right? Because you're probably sacrificing too much ceiling to select a non-Kincaid pass catcher when you can get Keenan Allen. You can get, we can go through the list. You can get Deontay Johnson. You can get all these guys that are like a lock for 10 plus targets. Like maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I think you probably roll it out naked and just hope 2 of the touchdowns are rushing touchdowns.
I think so. I will stack Josh Allen in 12-man contest, 12-person contest, and in like the smaller 6-person contest. I think that's why I like those contests so much, like in the bomb, because like correlation, you're not fighting off against the nuts so much, as far as just like getting a game right, is why I like those games so much. So speaking of that angle, I'll take us back here. We could, if you want to just go give my game, Pete, we can start with one of the more exciting games on the slate, the Florida Bowl here, Jags at Miami. this is a really exciting game that I think if I was going to do run backs in the main BR, this would be one of the games that I would do run backs for.
Yeah, and maybe we should do like a little, you mentioned it, and I'm kind of with you. I actually, in my Deposit Kingdom video, and I think I'm going to write it up for Fantasy Life this week, just do kind of like a 5 commandments of Battle Royale drafting. And one of them is like not forcing the bring back. So obviously the rules are meant to be broken and you want to be careful with it. But the way I was kind of thinking about it as I was like writing my thoughts down was like, we are having to like hit the nuts in like a 6-person contest. And the bring back thing, it's not actually reducing the number of things we have to get right when it's only a 6 thing. It's just an additional thing we have to get right.
Yeah.
And I think you do sometimes even run the risk of people over bring backing. So like not only are you having to get the additional thing right, as opposed to just cherry picking another play in a different game environment, you're also running into a lot of the same combos. So the kind of the way I was kind of thinking about both like double stacking and bringbacks is like, if I am doing it, I really want it to be a piece that isn't drafted in 100% of contests. Like that's where I think you're in trouble. If you do that classic, like even a stack with a bring back, but they go in every one, that's when I start to get pretty queasy on it.
That's a pretty good point. I think it is fair to question, like, how often are people doing it? Because you hear, I mean, it's really easily done is the thing too. It's not like in salary where like, like I kind of made this bring back work. Like we're drafting 36 players. You can easily get a bring back. It's there if you want it, and it's almost a little too easy to do. The reason I was talking about maybe doing it is like I'm struggling with Devon Achane this week. I've called him on an earlier show, like that's what best ball is for. Like we have 17 weeks to capture the Achane ceiling, and it doesn't really matter when it hits. But obviously his ceiling is massive. But my thought was I think he maybe needs a high scoring environment for us to get what we need out of Achane, where it's just like it's a fireworks game. I have trouble seeing Achane getting home if the Dolphins don't have to play catch up at any point in this game. I don't see why they would do that with him.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think I'll continue to take like Achane at ADP, but yeah, I mean you can juxtapose him to the other running back in this matchup. Travis Etienne going to project for more touches. Maybe not quite as explosive as Achane because no one is, but I still think Travis Etienne has some big plays in his bag, has a lock on goal line, right? Isn't going to get vultured by like Mostert. So I get it. Like I understand this. It is like, this is the exact same price as he was in best ball, right? Like relative to where he's going, like it's the same price where it's like, it feels a smidge expensive, but you also know, he could drop a 45 burger and absolutely bury you if you don't have him. So I struggle with it too, but I think it's fair to have some sticker shock there.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say, I think the Jaguars receivers, I always say Jaguars. I always catch myself. Jaguars for the audio listeners that get so upset with me for my pronunciation there. Jaguars, I think, are fun leverage in the main BR. I would not double stack Trevor Lawrence. Hell, I don't know that. I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence stacking is fun and fine, but Jaguars receivers do not get drafted in the main BR. Christian Kirk is going to be the first one off the board. I mean, why not just dream a little bigger with like Thomas, who we think sort of has the high ceiling, potential in his range of outcomes, and Gabe Davis, who, that's literally all he was known for. If we're shooting ceilings here, definitely, I think in play in these main BRs.
I do too. I guess one thing I've been thinking about because one of the other things I was writing about of like not getting too cute. And I think there's like, sometimes the scenarios are just like so simple where it's like, there's 2 clear wide receivers. One of them gets drafted at an ADP of 20 and every draft of the other one has like a 35.9. And it's like, the gap's not that big. When I look at the ADPs for Kirk, Thomas, and Gabe, like 35.5, 35.7, 35.9, that puts them in a range where they're all very rarely getting drafted. At that point, I almost swing the other way and say, do I just not get too cute? Do I just take the guy who's going to project for the most targets in Christian Kirk? Where if all things are equal, then I almost default to not being cute. And we'll talk about some of the running backs where I don't feel like you have to get cute just chasing touches. So I hear you. Like, I'm just wondering, is it my best ball brain with Brian Thomas and Gabe Davis? And I'm like, isn't Christian Kirk just like the best play? But all of these guys leverage on ETN and Ingram look awesome.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like I think the reasoning for maybe the Thomas and Gabe is like, oh, it's week one, and but the fact that Christian Kirk, like the difference between the drafted percentage between Christian Kirk and Thomas and Gabe is minuscule, if not the exact same. Then yeah, take the best play and just know that you're getting low ownership there in a high scoring affair that isn't even like a huge spread. So I think Jags wide receivers just off the hop are pretty fun to take in this contest there. And then obviously for Miami, Achan is first off the board, and then we have Mostert, who I don't think Mostert goes every single time. Um, I mean, he's had an ADP of 34.6.
Yeah, it's
He's
crazy.
almost certainly touching the ball more than Achan in this game. How often? I mean, I know we're not playing for median outcomes, Pete, but like this game plays 100 times. How many times does Mostert outscore Achan, do you think?
Probably like 65.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, why? I mean, for me, I'm playing Mostert until he's not healthy. As long as Mostert's
Yeah.
healthy, I think he's my play on these
Yeah.
slates.
Yeah. I think he's a good play. And I think it's worth thinking through like the leverage angle. Tyreek Hill, very fair price. You could say HN probably overpriced. I think Waddle's honestly probably a little overpriced. I just think what you probably want to be doing, especially early when we have so many alpha wide receivers who are underpriced, who can consolidate targets, who can go off. I think like I'll save my Devontae Smiths. I know he's not on this slate, but my Jalen Waddles for later in the season when it really tightens up and everybody's priced efficiently. Like to me, you can just go out and get alphas that are mispriced
Yes,
on this slate.
100%. Jalen Waddle being drafted seemingly like too much. Not every time. I think you can safely say he's not drafted every time, but he's drafted too much
Yeah.
considering Devontae Adams goes undrafted a lot of the time. So I am totally with you on that. I mean, classic Dolphins just very concentrated. Yeah, Jalen Waddle not in my player pool personally. Um, Achan very rarely, but like I do take him because like he's a top 10 pick, and it's Devon Achan. But I do prefer Mostert. Fun game. Chat, by the way, I do see the chat. Thanks everybody for hanging out. If you haven't liked the video, go ahead and drop a like on that, whether you're on Pete's channel or the Badge Bros channel. We do appreciate you guys. Trying to keep this somewhat condensed, so not spending a ton of time yapping with you guys, but we appreciate you guys. The Arthur Smith Bowl, Pete.
Yeah.
Steelers against the Falcons here. Uh, Bijan drafted every single time, as he should be. He's the first running back off the board, most drafts, as I think he should be. But this projects to be maybe a slog, and I'm not so certain that I'm as amped for Bijan here as the field is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which
I'm not
that's
saying he's
saying something,
undraftable, Pete, but
Nez.
I'm gonna be underweight Bijan this week.
So are you taking then who are you taking over? Obviously Jefferson, I assume. And then who else would you take over him? JT?
Yeah, I would take Jefferson over him and Nico and JT. I'm
Okay.
really excited for this Colts Texans game. Like
Yeah.
extremely excited.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense and is justified there. And I'm with you. To me, when I looked at this game, this is a pick a one-off game. Like I don't even think I want to do like an
Right.
oppo like mini correlation. It's like give me Bijan, give me Drake, give me Pitts if his fucking hamstring is fine. Give me a George Pickens. I think Najee kind of falls on that line of drafted, maybe just a smidge. Like too much relative to like some of the other scroll down guys we can go down to. It's still pretty marginal. Like his ADP at 35.7, but I'm like,
Yeah.
man, some of the guys like Chuba and Devin Singletary are like, it's like they're not going to have any competition for touches and are even drafted less than that. So Najee's kind of like a weird line for me.
Yeah, it just like you could like feel free if you're out here, to do that, but like not for me. There's just more projectable touches and better game environments, than like trying to. That feels like an Arthur Smith move to like draft Najee in these contests. It feels like you're sticking it to the people. I don't
Yeah.
know. I would wait and see. Pickens, I think it makes a lot of sense though. No target competition. Roman Wilson might play week one, which would be like a very fun development. For the Roman Wilson drafters to maybe, kind of get an out on that. But otherwise, yeah, it's Pickens or bust for me on the Steelers side. But we have London and Pitts in our first look with Kirk Cousins, and Pitts being tight end 4. I think I can get to some Kyle Pitts and Drake London in this,
Yeah.
but still drafted kind of a lot, but it's not the
Yeah.
worst.
Let's do, because we probably won't be able to do game by game, and we're going to have a big announcement coming up here in
Yeah,
the
you're right.
next 5 or so minutes. Let's do a little more macro positions. Let's talk about tight end, because I do think it is the
Let's
trickiest
do it.
one on the slate. You have Kincaid, McBride, Ingram, Pitts. There, Pitts, I guess ADP wise is kind of in a closer to like the Ferguson, I guess. And then you have Njoku, but to me, this is one of the more like clear top 6
Yeah.
you will see, because I think there's some interesting leverage angles with Dalton Schultz, but that's a big tier break from Njoku to Schultz. And then you have Bowers, which of course is interesting. And then you're down Freiermuth, Kmet, Ertz, Johnny. Like, yeah, we can build cases for all of these guys, but none of them are slam dunks by any means. So have you found yourself going heavy on the top 6 tight ends and just eating the ownership, or are you getting funky here?
No, I am very much sticking to this top 6. Even in the dog bowls, I prefer the top 6 here. They just project so much better. And it's sort of like what we expected. It's been the talk all season, that there's like elite tight ends and how you're going to label them. But like, this is very much that same vein. I think Njoku and Ferg are very interesting. I'm surprised that this game is a 41.5 total. Personally, I'm like, I think these are 2 kind of decent offenses. I don't really know much about the defenses, and we don't know how the Browns are going to play. Are they going to play fast like they did last year? There's a big question mark there, but pretty concentrated as far as like who we're targeting there. So I kind of like Ferg and Njoku on this slate. And Dalton Schultz here, just missing the cutoff, I think is pretty good leverage against the Texans wide receivers in a game that I'm like super excited about. Like I said once already.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the angle there is, it's just a fun way to kind of crater a bunch of teams, a Stroud team, a
Right.
tank team. Yeah. I'm into that. And yeah, it's tough. Like, I just recorded right now with JM, our block party show. I'll probably post that tomorrow. But he was in on Brock Bowers, which I think is definitely interesting, just knowing his talent level. Like, it could look really silly to have him, where he is like in a couple of weeks. Like, he could just easily be like a top 3 guy on most of these slates. So, getting early there is kind of attractive to me. I guess the thing that's hard too, right, is like, you're not that excited about stacking. Are there any of these any of these tight ends outside of the top 4 that you would skinny stack? Like, would you do a Watson, right, Njoku? Would you do a Dak, Ferguson?
Dak Ferguson would be tough for me, because I think if Dak is going off, like, it really feels hard for him to get there without CD. If Stroud is going off, you only need 2 wide receivers to outscore those receivers from Houston, where I think Houston could be spread out and like, oh, the touchdowns go to Schultz. Yeah. I think Schultz and Stroud, I could get to. Dak and Ferg, I think feels pretty thin, even though I do like Ferg on the whole on the season. And I think Trevor and Ingram, but you did mention other than the top 4. It feels tough.
Yeah. That's why I think I am kind of leaning toward, obviously one off if we're not stacking these guys, and just really rotating through them. And there isn't even like huge leverage angles, right? Like, you get down here after the Schultz and it's like Ertz. Okay. Like, there's not a ton of leverage there. Otten, I guess maybe a little bit. Bowers, no. Freiermuth, Fant. None of these guys. Jonnu was the only other one I kind of pegged as like, how could you potentially crater a bunch of teams? They're listing him as a fullback. Like, if they're doing some weird stuff with him around the goal line, and it's like, man, if Jonnu somehow like binked a couple TDs or even just one and had a decent game, and it's like that prevents Tyreek, Achane, Mostert, and Waddle from all reaching an optimal lineup score. Like, that's kind of Schultz light. But man, I don't know. There's just not a lot of fun angles at tight end.
There's not. And what it's leading me to is like a ton of McBride. Just because I think the running back and the wide receivers, I feel are pretty flat this week. So I want Trey McBride in this matchup against Buffalo that I think could shoot out. I think Buffalo can score at will on this Arizona team, and they're just got to air it out. And I can't wait to see McBride unleashed.
And that's what kind of, I think, what I'm coming back to. And I think I'll even push it up and just say, I want to be really heavy on these top 4 guys. And the
Yes.
other thing, like, go to the full view of the board, because it's like, we're talking about the drop off here. You mentioned Nico, who I definitely agree with, but like, and I like ETN a lot too. But then, like, where's the opportunity cost here for taking Kincaid and McBride? Like, give me those guys over Evans, over Marv, over Stroud, over London. Like, to me, they just clearly seem like the best plays in this range.
Yeah, yeah. Like you can build the same projectable teams as far as projected points by reaching on these top 4 tight ends or top 2 tight ends as we're talking about. So that's been, like I said, that's been the biggest decision point for me. And my angle through like 30 BRs is just like McBride, Ingram, or Kincaid as often as I can.
Yep. Yeah, that's where I'm at. And yeah, it's a little easier if there's a play that you like that's kind of correlated. I mean, I have one really gross one that I will throw out because
I'm gross.
I'm on Gino.
Okay.
And I'm willing to stack him up every way. Like, you can go like the different levels of Metcalf, like no one's going to push back on that. You want to get into JSN territory, you can do that. But I think you could do, I heard you mention Lockett. I'm just on the tight end conversation here. I was going to say, like, I think you could throw Fant in
Sure.
if you want. I would prefer to play him as a one-off. I think if that's kind of my angle, but he's the only other guy down there that was like vaguely interesting to me.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is like, it's kind of, I mean, it's just a deep slate. So like, I was
Yeah.
taking a lot of these guys in best ball. So like, you don't have to talk me into like Noah Fant being a good play. Like I'm down here thinking like Juwan Johnson 2 touchdown game incoming. Like who's like the guy down here that can actually separate and you don't expect it, as opposed to like the way that I usually think about it on every slate is like, okay, if it's not one of these guys, then it actually just doesn't even matter who my tight end is. And it's just like, I just hope that nobody in the position breaks the slate.
And I mean, the truth is, right, probably the optimal way to play it is if you miss out on one of these top 4 guys, or you can extend it to 6, you just RNG it at the end of your drafts with your 6th round, take Juwan, take Noah Fant, take Kate Otten, take fucking Zach Ertz, take Jonnu, and just cycle these guys, right? Like, isn't that the play?
It 100% is. Like,
yeah.
I am dead serious going to have a couple Zach Ertz teams. I'm going to do a Cole Kmet team. Like, I will get down into these trenches because, like I said, there's 2 ways that this hits. 1, no tight end breaks a slate, and it doesn't matter who you have. Or 2, you have an extremely low-owned tight end to happen to score 2 touchdowns. Like, it to me, it's a pretty big decision point on these slates.
Yeah, and that's why it's a little like, I get it with Ferguson and Njoku because they are definitely better plays than 7 and 8, but they typically fall in that range where it's tough, where it's like they're not as good as the top 4, but they're going to catch the same ownership. And then the question is, do they separate from tight end, 7 through 12 enough to justify a near 100% clip?
Exactly. And to me, it's probably no.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think heavy top 4, light on 5, 6, and then RNG everything after that.
Yeah. Spin a wheel.
Let's see here. I'm refreshing the lobby here. I'm trying to see if maybe any new goodies have dropped.
Are we live yet?
Let's see here. I don't think I see anything yet. I will keep tabs on this.
Okay.
Let's talk maybe a little quarterback. I feel like that's the kind of other interesting angle. Your top 6: Allen, Stroud, Kyler, Richardson, Burrow, in Dak. I think you'll probably see Dak and Tua have kind of similar ownership, a decent amount of stacking with Tyreek, with CD. So I think you can lump Tua kind of into that most drafted category. And then we're kind of in flyer territory, which is pretty nice when you look at some of these names. Obviously, Lawrence and Williams, Cousins. Right. I mentioned Geno earlier, a guy I like. Darnold, if you go Jefferson, like this is a
Mhm.
pretty good scroll down slate at quarterback.
I think so too. And I'll be the one to throw Danny Dimes in there. Like the worry about Danny Dimes in best ball is he might get benched. Well, he's starting week 1 against the Vikings, and I think I'm going to need the Vikings to show me that they're a defense that deserves respect uh before I believe it. So
Yeah.
I think QB is really deep, and I am just not going to have any Joe Burrow. I don't think. Unless we get. I mean, I know Jamar Chase is suited up in practice today. Um, I just have trouble seeing Joe Burrow breaking the slate against the Patriots. I know the Patriots, no one thinks that they're going to be good, and they probably won't be good. I do respect their defense a little bit, and Joe Burrow not being a mobile quarterback, I just have a lot of trouble getting there this week when I can take Anthony Richardson like for free. I mean, like I keep like talking. I love this game. Like, let's just break down that game real quick. We don't have to go
Yeah.
like super in depth, but like why I love this game so much is on one end you have the Houston Texans, the most highly anticipated offense I think in football outside of maybe like the Chiefs, and then you have the Colts who played so incredibly fast last year with Anthony Richardson. If they play that fast again, and then like if this game could just explode, it could go absolutely nuclear if the Colts continue to play at a breakneck pace and then forcing Stroud and company on the other end to like just get the ball and run more plays than people are even projecting. I can't believe that this total is under 50.
You know what? Now, as you kind of get me hyped up about it, I honestly think the quarterback setup is kind of similar to tight end. It's just the deep options are way better because you have
Right.
this top four, right? Allen, Stroud, Kyler, Richardson. Those guys separate. I agree with you. Like, I don't love the spot for Burrow, uncertainty with Chase. Potentially still this hand issue that people are talking about. I think they're going to establish the shit out of it on the ground. We know New England's going to try to bleed the clock as much as possible. And then Dak and Tua are very similar to me as like Ferguson and Njoku, where I like them if I'm stacking them up with Lamb or Tua, but it's still kind of like, Then I just want to scroll down. And there's so many different ways where you can get these guys stacked up with their top weapon and then get the ownership discount. Daniels, McLaurin, Lawrence with any of those Jags we just mentioned, Caleb with, you can go Fat Keenan there, Geno with Metcalf, Darnold with Jefferson. So I'm loving all of these angles. And I do think I probably want to be underweight Burrow, Dak, Tua in this range.
Agreed. Yeah. I think what's really interesting is like your Geno shout, because 24 implied total for the
Yep.
Seahawks here, and Geno's QB 15, absolutely untouched. Nobody is drafting Geno on this main slate, but you can tell yourself a pretty easy story on how Geno does put up QB1, like top 3 QB numbers. It's because he's lighting up his pass catchers. It's not like, Josh Allen could get there by running, so could A-Rich. Geno's getting there because he's throwing for 380 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he's really easy to tell that story and build that lineup by, throwing in Metcalf, throwing in Fant, and trying to get there that way. Caleb Williams in that same vein, 24.5 implied total for the Bears, one of the higher ones on the slate. Caleb has a plethora of pass catchers you can stack with. The Titans may, I don't know what to think of their defense. I don't really have a read on them as a team, but I think their offense has the potential to maybe push the Bears, even though I think the Bears defense is good. So there's a lot of ways that this can like fall out, and Caleb, only puts up like 250 and 2, or, whatever, a score that doesn't matter, but easily stacked, I think, as well as a pretty high upside play.
Yeah, will you go filter to everything and then search Chicago?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously DJ Moore, this like to me, this is one of the quintessential spots that'll show up every week in Battle Royale that you want to take advantage of. You have really good wide receivers, and one of them's getting drafted in 100% of contests. DJ Moore, close to, I guess 30, maybe he's more like 80%, but a good clip. Caleb undrafted, and then Keenan, who I think is going to earn the most targets of any one of these pass catchers in week 1, is going undrafted in
Yeah.
the majority of these. He's the ninth most expensive wide receiver on DraftKings. And I realize that that's stale pricing from a while ago, but like understanding where he generally fits in with this hierarchy. He's getting undrafted. His teammate, who's extremely volatile. I like DJ Moore or whatever, but this is the spot where if I told you on redacted, DJ Moore was going to be, 40% and Keenan Allen was going to be, 2%, and they were the same cost.
No
And
brainer.
who would you take? So like, to me, like I really like Keenan as a one-off late, or with Caleb. I think that looks super, super clean to me.
I agree. And I've been doing this a lot in the 12 mans where like Keenan Allen will go in the 6th round in dog bowl drafts. Like it's just, it's crazy to me. And I think that can apply and hit in the 6 mans as well. Even with more leverage there. So fully agree with how you broke that down for these Bears. Any other, I mean, we kind of threw out Darnold and Danny Dimes. Any other quarterbacks you want to make a case for?
Yeah. Scroll down a little bit. I really do think that I kind of, in this, a lot of how I've been thinking about this kind of dovetailed with the conversation I had with Michael about the weekly winner stuff, and
Yes.
just understanding that a subpar or average quarterback comes along for the ride when his alpha wide receiver goes nuts. And to me, this is like the cleanest application of like correlation or stacking in this, where we know we can't double stack, we can't rip it in, we have to be nearly perfect. But if we are perfect on the wide receiver and say Terry McLaurin goes for 30 or DK Metcalf goes for 30, like the chances of their quarterback scoring 25 plus, and at that point, all you have to avoid is Josh Allen going for 40. Right? Because you're going to be able to make up those points elsewhere. You just got to make sure that gap between Josh Allen, who's really the only quarterback who I think could separate from the field by like 15 points, as long as that doesn't happen, your quarterback has a really good chance to be optimal if it's stacked with the nut wide receiver on that week. So I'm almost just trying to keep it simple with that. Like, okay, Jefferson, Darnold, fun scroll down. I like you said, like Neighbors, toss on Dimes. Like, I think it's a really simple but smart way to handle it.
That weekly winners episode, I bring that up all the time because like the principles from that episode, I think carry over to BRs so well as far as like what you're looking for in these drafts. And like sure, wide receiver 2s on respective teams can get home. Of course, like I'm not going to pretend that like Jalen Waddle will never win a slate, but primarily it's these alpha receivers, like you said, Justin Jefferson and Neighbors standing out in one specific matchup where like their target competition is just, I mean, Addison's fine, but these guys are bona fide studs on their respective teams. And it's really it's really changed the way that I think about these BRs. It is like, who has less target competition around them and is just an absolute stud. And we talked about Pickens already, but yeah. And then tacking along those low on QBs along for the ride.
Yeah. Let's see. Any other, maybe let's hit on some of the scroll down plays at running back, because this is kind of the juiciest to me. I heard you guys talk about it a little bit. I think I'm definitely leaning to having way more 2 running back builds than 1. I feel like falling into that don't get too cute, that you can just bank just a massive amount of touches at basically no field exposure, at running back so easily that it's been hard for me to go away from running back with my last pick.
I agree. I will say though, for the main BR, I do prefer 3 wide receivers this week in the main BR, but in DeBomb, in fullback dives, it's strictly 2 running backs for me in those contests. But I think you can find like massive ceilings at wide receiver for wide receiver 3 here. And, I think that might be what we need more, unless you just like, obviously any of these running backs can get home, but the projectable touches are just like insane that we can find here. I think Zamir White is a really good example, really far down here. Him and Chuba, these guys, until we see their roles change, they are bell cows in their respective backfields. And they, I think, represent awesome leverage in these BRs this week.
Yes. I think right here, for me, the sweet spot is like this Javonte, Chuba, Moss, Singletary range, like, man, those four all really jump off the page to me. I think with Zach Moss, it's more a little bit of the high value touch thought. I don't love the
I
game
love,
environment,
yeah, I
but with
love Zach Moss this week.
Javonte, Chuba, and Singletary, like, it's not hard to squint and see 20 touches for all of those guys.
Right, right. I think Javante, I really want to get into, but I am worried about like what's Jaleel's role gonna be week one. I can maybe wait and see on that. Singletary, I think, has a fantastic role to start. I would expect him to get 15 plus touches, including receptions there. But I love Zach Moss this week. I think Zach Moss is like the goal line back for the Cincinnati Bengals. And we know how many fantasy points Joe Mixon left on the table every year he was a Cincinnati Bengal. We've seen some Chase Brown runs, and he just is not the guy that's going to run between the tackles. I think Chase Brown could be a good play, in future slates. But when you're looking at the Bengals favored as much as they are over the Patriots, I think Zach Moss is getting 16 carries, and he has a chance to score 2 touchdowns and just absolutely undrafted. So he's been one of my favorite clicks down here for running back.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I think of these four, Singletary is my favorite, then Chuba, then Moss, then Javante. But yeah, I mean, I think you can just live in this range here. You see these ADPs 35.8 or later. All of these guys are going to be drafted at sub 10%. It's awesome to be able to play it. And it's like tacking one of those guys on as my RB2 or even RB1 if you like the 3. But man, it feels so good to have those guys late.
It does. And I'll throw this one out for the 12 mans is B-Rob, Brian Robinson Jr. In the 6-person drafts might be too thin. But in the 12-person drafts, I think he makes a lot of sense where people are really off him. I think primarily because of the fact that we have always thought, and they probably still are, the Bucks having a really strong run defense. But if they can move the ball, if Jaden Daniels is able to just move the ball in general on the Bucks and put them in situations where B-Rob can score a touchdown, I mean, he's going to, he's somebody that I think has a very strong hold on this backfield until I see otherwise with Austin Eckler. They love Brian Robinson. They use him a ton at the goal line last year. Just thinking about like guys with strong goal line touchdown equity, he comes to mind, even though the ADP is so low, because I think the field is right. I think the Bucks do have once again a strong run defense, but just a lot of volatility in that matchup.
Yeah. Nez, I just noticed a goodie in the Underdog lobby here.
Let's see it.
Get
The
a
debut.
Refresh. A little scroll here.
Oh, boom.
Oh, baby. The Deposit Kingdom Weekly League. This has been in the works here for a little bit. Been talking with Hope and Numi about this. Super excited. This is going to be a weekly contest. It is posting early this week just because we were going to have it post during off and on the clock regularly. We're doing Wednesday this week. Normally, this will drop on Friday afternoons. It's a $10 contest. It is 3 max, which I love here. We're going to start with 1,100 entrants. We can always adjust as we go. But yeah, going to only, try to promote this here on the show for you guys and in our little neck of the woods. If you guys aren't in the Deposit Kingdom, make sure you guys hop in the Discord. That's where the Badge Bros channels live. That's where all of our various show channels are and all of the best ball and DFS talk. So Nez, I'm excited, man. Should we rip the first Deposit contest?
Yeah, let's not waste any time. I'm sure half the audience is already in the underflow, and maybe even more than that after that slow fill. But yeah, this is awesome. I really love the 3 max. Really evens out the playing field for everyone. This is very exciting, a very big development, and I'm sure this is going to be a part of your portfolio reviews on Monday, reviewing
exactly.
your
So we will I'll probably review it in a couple spots. I'll definitely do Monday portfolio review, and then in the weekly Deposit Kingdom video, maybe if there's a chance to kind of do like a deeper dive on a strategy angle or something like that. I'll definitely be doing that. So yeah, if you win this, you're definitely going to get some publicity on the review. And I look at you pulling the influencer 101 right off the rip.
It's just the way it goes, man. You know, it's the Deposit Kingdom contest. I got to get the 101. Is your 101 Tyreek Hill?
Yes. Is that yours?
Same.
Or you CD? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I split the ownership up pretty equally in best ball, but I was kind of a hot take artist thinking that maybe we should have been drafting Tyreek Hill over CD Lamb all summer, but you know, that's neither here nor there. It's a 1 week sample, and I'm taking Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. I think, generally when you're going to look like, I don't know, let me see what, so ETR projections have Tyreek at 18.96 and CD at 15.35. Actually, they have a big gap. I was going to say like it's close, but that's a pretty big gap. The game environment is just way better. In Florida, there's just less question marks. I feel like we know what we're getting out of these offenses relative to the Browns, who have such a wide range, I think this year, to how functioning their offense is. So yeah, I think CeeDee Lamb can get there, obviously, but I think you got to take Tyreek at 101 this week.
Yeah, no doubt. This Cowboys Browns game is really tripping me up because every fiber in me says that this game is going to exceed its total of 41.5. But you know, I cannot be on an island with that thought. That I feel like that's such a mid IQ, or maybe I can't tell if that's left curve or right curve to think that this Cowboys Browns game is going to exceed its total. Just thinking about the way that they played last year, are they just going to like slow things down with Deshaun Watson after adding Jerry Jeudy? Like, I just have unless these defenses are just like much better than I'm giving credit for.
Yeah. The elite tight ends are getting chewed up. Nez, I don't mind. Do you want to do Ingram and just like lock up one of these guys? We were just talking about that.
Yeah, I definitely would. Yeah, I would go Ingram.
And then I don't know. I probably be JT or like Rashad here. Get a running back. I don't know if we have to do the wide receivers in this range.
I'm typically JT, and this is a mini GM as well. You know, we get a decent fall here. This to me, man. Like I said, if they're just going to continue to play fast and just run a ton of plays, we could be looking at a lot of touches for JT, like 20 plus potentially. I'm just really excited for that, especially when I don't expect a ton of work for Trey Sermon. In general, but even more so if they're doing no huddle, where they're not, subbing in and just keeping the train moving. This game, this is pretty much like the thesis of my week 1 strategy, Pete, is like the Colts and Texans go Burr.
Yeah. And I think it's good too. Like I was talking through this with JM, like you want to have some Richardson stuff, but on those opposite those teams, like having JT, what if the touchdowns go through him? Playing that game environment a couple different ways, I think makes a lot of sense here. And so we start Tyreek, then we grab Ingram here, and then Jonathan Taylor. You think people are spooked about the Pitts like hammy, non-hammy storyline from this morning?
Oh, definitely. People are scared of Pitts, and the matchup isn't like pristine. I mean, limited with a hamstring issue. The drafters did not need a reason to not take Kyle Pitts, and now they have one. I'm rooting for him, but Pete, it won't be me as the winner if we do get the strong Pitts season. Okay, Richardson goes. Kyler doesn't stack. I do like James Cook this week. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I think we either take him or like Neighbors, but then the last pick, we definitely probably want to get a scroll.
For sure. Do you want to do Neighbors or Adams first?
Let's do Neighbors.
Okay. I'm in love with Neighbors this week.
So I guess if we're penciling, or we want to pencil in Tua,
we totally could, right? We have the run back off that.
We could also do Trevor Lawrence. I think that's completely fine too. Although I probably err on a Tyreek team to go Tua, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think Cook here, and then we can kind of
Okay.
think through Tua or Lawrence. But I agree. I think it's Tua because yeah,
This is
it just makes
also,
sense.
I think honestly, like in the big BR, I might say like this is just slightly too chalky, but not in a 1,100 person contest.
Exactly. Like I really do think you have to get outside of the comfortable principles of team building when you do these main BRs. They are just
Yeah.
so like they're so much fun, but I really think it's important to allow yourself to think about getting selective nuts in each game because it is like it's mean like the bring back is essentially meaningless. Like you said, it's not getting less things right. It's just the same thing as expecting any other tight end to be the guy you need. But in these smaller contests, it just feels more comfortable to correlate because that game can be a game that you need, but we don't need the nuts. So very, very much agree with you there. But look at this. We got some Devin Singletary scrolling going on here
Look at that.
with an early Ken Walker. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? I do think that it cuts both ways, right? You definitely have to get less weird, but it also is like really powerful if you're the only team that has Chuba like at 1,100 and he's the guy. Like
Extremely.
but yeah, I do think you can tighten it up, and it's like I do think the Tua versus Daniel Jones is the perfect illustration of this. Like Tua maybe catching a little bit too much ownership on a team like this in the main BR. We don't have to go all the way down to Danny Dimes in this size.
No, we do not. I think that is a really strong BR play, but here it just doesn't seem like something
And
that we absolutely have to do.
yeah, and like you mentioned DeBomb, right? That's the $100 entry, 5 max, and that's only 276 entrants. So that's even
Yeah.
like a fifth or a fourth of what this one is. You can even do like double stacks there, way more
Yes.
consistently.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
I like
Tua,
Tua.
unless you want to
Yeah.
like, yeah. I think Tua here.
I
He, yeah,
yeah, I think Lawrence would have been perfectly fine. But again, it's just like, how do we win this contest? Well, Tyreek goes for 40. And if he's going for 42, is probably going for 25 plus.
exactly. And one thing I will say too with the bomb and any other contest that is not the main BR, one more stack I want to throw out there with the double is doing a CJ double with Tank and Diggs instead of Nico. Very much into that stack. Just trying to get to that game in a variety of
Well,
ways.
you know what I was laughing at? I mean, my best BR week
I
last year,
know.
I had the two in the top 10 and it was Tank and Schultz. And I'm like, this week kind of sets up nice to do a Tank and Schultz double at low ownership again.
I'm just saying, Pete, just play the hits.
Just play the hits. I should also mention too, I know maybe we have some people who are, new to dailies, just because they've been doing a lot of regular best ball. I can already tell just by like watching Twitter and seeing content stuff, like people are going to be way more into BRs this year.
Yes.
I do really recommend going and watching that video on the Deposit Kingdom channel that I collabed with John and Nez on about scrolling the F down. We approached it from basically all the different angles, but specifically from the battle royale scene. And it's like a lot of times, Nez, people will ask me like, you use all this language and verbiage and like, what does it all mean? That's like the best place to find the foundation for all of the stuff we're talking about with this guy's getting drafted X%. This guy, highly recommend it. It's called, I think how to outsmart ADP, but you can scroll down on the channel. And I think it would be a really good foundation before you dive into these.
Yeah, those are just excellent viewing, let alone just the education that you get from those. So definitely highly recommend.
Awesome. Nez, let's see here. Do you want to do maybe you want to start building pick'ems or anything else on the drafting front we should hit? I do apologize. Normally we're going to have a little bit more time. As
Yeah,
I mentioned to Nez, I have a 6 a.m. flight tomorrow and a lot of stuff to get done before I leave. So we're going to be a little more abbreviated today, but probably best to build some pick'ems here?
Yeah, we usually take like a good 15 minutes just talking through the different angles on these pick'ems. I wanted to highlight first, obviously, Underdog running promos and discounts all week, which like everybody loves. Who
Yeah.
wouldn't? And this week we've got, well, today we have discounts on Marv and Justin Jefferson as well. I'm trying to scroll over here. I might have to do a refresh, but they have the Vulture
Yeah.
special today as well. Highly recommend reading who is involved in this. They'll have the little Vulture tokens on their picture as well. But basically, if for example, if Alvin Kamara gets vultured on a touchdown, if you're doing a touchdown pick him with him, and Taysom Hill is stealing that, then you get rescued on that pick. They're on the Underdog Picks Twitter. They have the full rules and how that all works out. But I mean, really fun idea for a promo.
Yeah. I actually I recorded a little video, kind of like an explainer about the Vulture. I'm going to post it when
Oh, good.
we're done with this. But yeah, there's 30 designated players. I was laughing because I hadn't seen them yet. The designation around the photo when you drafted JT. I saw that it was there on the VRs too. I was like, "What is that floating around JT?"
Yeah, they use the same headshots. They did it for like NBA too. It's pretty funny. I haven't used the Travis Kelce gimme yet, so
yeah, you
maybe
need to
throw something in on that.
Yes, let's actually, Nez, why don't you save the gimme just so
Sure.
the one most people can
You're right.
tail whatever
You're right.
we build here. Let's do what we always do, which is kind of just vibe out with some of our favorite plays that we were talking about. I mean, the Neighbors one is ridiculous, right? Like Neighbors has got to be a fixture of these.
Yeah, I think you're right. What's your favorite angle for this? I think the receptions, but
Okay, I was gonna say receiving yards in that like we know Danny Dimes can have games where he doesn't hit a broadside of a barn, but Neighbors can take like one
okay.
slant. I kind of just want to let Neighbors cook and take it as much out of Dimes's hands as possible.
Yeah, no,
What do you think about?
Yeah,
I'd be open to the fantasy points too. I hadn't seen that. I feel like that's new relative to earlier today, or maybe.
I love doing fantasy points. You just get so many different outs on getting that pick right. I would probably prefer fantasy points.
Yeah. I like that one. The other one, what give me one of your vibe picks here.
So I really like looking at the Packers. Two reasons why. One, I would like the Eagles to show me that their secondary isn't garbage before I believe it. And two, we have pretty heavily discounted projections on these Packers receivers, and it's because we don't know who is going to get work, but like they're all so heavily discounted that I feel like they can all hit. And it's just like take your favorite pick here. Like Jaden Reed, 43.5 receiving yards, Christian Watson, 30.5 receiving yards with 7.45 fantasy points is my favorite out of the bunch. I mean, from the angle that it's week one, he's not hurt yet. And Adam Levitan highlighted this, and I thought was really actually like astute. Christian Watson has not missed a practice. He's not been limited in any practice yet. He's out there practicing. The storyline was they figured out that his hamstring was smaller than the other. Don't know how it took him so long, but I like the 7.45 fantasy points on Christian Watson against what could be another disastrous season for the Eagles secondary. Is this do you think this is a little too thin?
No. So I like it, but I feel like if you're doing Watson, you just play the TD.
Okay.
Because well, here's my thought. So 7.45 fantasy points. His receiving line's 38.5, reception is 3.5. So that'd be like 1.5. It's like getting you to 6. And so you're basically needing the touchdown for him to clear his like median thing. And the way he hits is just like so big. Anyways, I don't want to talk you off of I just feel like if he hits, it's almost always with like a big play. So maybe it's like longest reception or fantasy or TD.
Yeah. Longest reception is such like an interesting projection to play. It's not the way I usually like to play these, but like I think I can maybe, endorse this, and then, Pete, we got to do some spice. So I agree. I think maybe the spice is the way to go for this, but I'm definitely I'm going to be playing Packers all season until the lobbies catch up, because this team's going to explode.
Can I give you one that I feel like this is going to not be here for much longer. So I don't know if you saw this today. Tucker Kraft was added to the injury report as
Yes.
limited. One of the reporters says he had a heating, or maybe this was someone joking that he should have a heating pad on his entire flight. But the Musgrave here, if Kraft is limited and doesn't play, like these numbers for Musgrave look really light to me.
And Pete, for what it's worth, I had a dream Musgrave had like 6 for 60 last night.
Okay, well, all he needs is 3 for 30 and we clear here. Which one do you like? I think it's either receptions or receiving yards. Maybe receptions? I don't know. What do you think?
So maybe, yeah, I think from the angle, I like them both. To be honest, my first thought was I like receiving yards more.
Yeah.
Just because the way that Musgrave was used last year, at least the one memory I have of Musgrave being used was like a deep shot down the seam, whereas like Kraft was like the lower A dot guy. So I think just like playing the receiving yards on Musgrave works because I just think this team is gonna it's gonna be big play after big play for these Packers.
All right, I have a new plan. How about this, Nez? How about we
Okay.
pull Neighbors out of this one? We're going to build two. We'll build
Okay.
one that's a primetime one for the Thursday and Friday night games. And then we will build a Sunday main slate one.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Good call. Do you want to look at Baltimore and Chiefs?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a harder time like when I was shopping around the lobby for Eagles. They're definitely trickier. I feel like.
Yeah, the Eagles are tricky. I just don't know what to make of them really.
Yeah. Man, the lobby, I feel like the offerings on these, yeah, because last time I was in the lobby, it must have been yesterday. I don't know. The fantasy points in all of these were not there. So there is a ton more here now.
And I love the fantasy points angle too.
Yeah.
Just to compare 11.55 for Derrick Henry on the fantasy points and 12.15 on Pacheco for the fantasy points. Just to take a peek here. I just want to see for P Ryan. They just have his touchdown. I don't know about that, but just wanted to check out what they had for him.
Yeah.
How do you think this game plays out? Like, what would be your preferred way to play this? Because I think this game could low key be a low scoring affair.
I think so. I think so too.
Not that we like to do lowers here, but
yeah. Do you know what I just also realized? We got to take a look at our rivals tab.
Oh baby,
it's under the higher lower drop down there.
Oh yeah, thank you. Which is
right above to the right of the search bar.
Oh yeah, if it was a snake, it'd bite me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we love the rivals. And I tell you what, man, I kind of love this. Mark Andrews getting spotted receiving yards over Kelsey.
Over Kelsey. Yeah.
Come on,
let's
dude.
do it.
Who's older?
11,
you know,
11 and a half. Yeah. I like that one.
Ooh, and I forgot, Pete. You know, I mean, God, we're just playing the hits here. I mean, you want to do a little kicker?
You're the kicker whisperer.
I mean, dude, Justin Tucker, 7 kicking points. Are we serious? They're scoring 2 touchdowns. He's at least kicking 2 field goals. And isn't there a lot of elevation where they're playing as well? I mean, he's going to boot one from like 70 yards.
I believe that was a joke that I made once on a show that I was looking up the sea level to see if there was an extra. And then I don't believe there was a ton of elevation, but I like the thesis. Yeah, it's not. No, I do. I think I included that extra. Or you want to do kicking points or extra points, man? I guess that it's 3 touchdowns or.
That's
which
tough.
one do you like more?
I think maybe field goals. Justin Tucker's making 2 field goals, don't you think?
2 field goals. Yeah, I guess on the road is always not quite as clean. I think I like the kicking points.
Okay.
Isn't that what you went with initially?
That's what I said at first, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we got 4 on here for 15. Do you want to add a 5th here? We can continue to peruse rivals.
Yeah. Did we have anything with Love? Should we just take should we take passing yards with Love or something? Because we have Watson and Musgrave.
We might get a slight dock on the payout, but I just think it makes sense. Like I'm very bullish on Jordan Love in this game. So if we do the passing yards, like that's nice. I don't miss whatever we would have gotten at all there. So I'm really into that.
Yeah, let's lock this in. So this pays out, what was it, 23.7 multiplier. So
Yep.
yeah,
I got
25.
25 on this for a near 600 payout. I'll share this one in the chat as well for you
Yeah.
guys, and make sure that I tweet this out with that really clean new share graphic. Like, makes a big deal. I'm a big fan of how those look on the Twitter timeline.
Oh, they
There you
look
go,
great.
guys. For our audio listeners, this is a pick 5 with Christian Watson, higher 0.5 touchdowns, Musgrave higher 26.5 receiving yards, Justin Tucker higher than 7 kicking points, Jordan Love higher 257.5 passing yards, and Mark Andrews having more receiving yards than Travis Kelce, and Mark Andrews being spotted 11.5 receiving yards. So that feels very nice.
Yeah. All right, so we got our Friday or Thursday Friday action here.
Yes.
Let's do our neighbors. We'll start with our neighbors here. Some of our other vibe plays. Who are the guys we were
I like
should we check out our guy McGronk?
Oh, yeah, come on.
He's a staple.
Wow. I mean, we got the. I mean, all we do is McGronk spice, but
McGronk, Spice, or I mean, the fantasy points looks nice too. I will say
it does. It does. I feel much better about the fantasy points. John would be disappointed, but this is fantasy points for me.
We'll save our Spice for when John's back.
Yeah. Do what he does best. All right, let me collapse these here. Let's check out the Jacksonville Miami stuff here. 17.
This could be one. Good. We do have our discount in the lobby if we want to use our Tyreek Hill higher than 71.5. Do you have that one?
I must have gotten different ones. I have Marv and J Jeff. I would much rather use Jettas than Marv, where I mean I'm worried about his week 1. So if you guys have a discount, let's go ahead and throw it in there. Yeah, we've got 12 hours to use that. So you guys should all have one.
Yeah, I'm gonna use my Tyreek Hill on this one. But yeah, we can do 2 versions. We can do one with our special, and then we can rerun it without the special if we need.
Got it. Okay.
Let's see. We had talked about Kirk. I guess his numbers look pretty fair.
It's always kind of tough when the game total is high. These projections are all just like really fair to me, and like nothing like stands out.
Yeah. Should we? Who are some of the? How about we look at who's the running back you
Moss
really liked? Moss. Let's see what Moss was.
Yeah. I know he started off pretty hot when these projections first came out, and then they took him down quite a bit. I think 13 rushing attempts is like in the bag.
I like that. I would be that or the TDs. I guess the TD spice isn't even super tempting. Let's do the rushing attempt.
Yeah, I think that's a smash. I was going to look at that Houston Colts game as well, just to see JT's rushing attempts. They're at 18. That's pretty. Wow. That's lofty.
Is there any good spreads on these pass catchers? So Nico's 67.5, Diggs is 59.5, Tank is 51.5. I think you could play Tank similar to kind of what we did with with Christian Watson, where you do either like the TD or the longest reception as the way to hit him.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we have to do that spot here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably not. Yeah, these all look pretty fair to me. That was a tough one. I mean, like I said, with these high scoring totals or high total games, it's tough to get a good projection. Sorry if you guys are offering us suggestions in the chat there, but I'm dialed in. Yeah,
let's I'm trying to think, the Pitts hammy, how's London looking?
Not bad.
Yeah.
I think these receptions look pretty nice. Yeah. Especially with the spice.
Oh wow, we are getting spice on that? Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah, I think he's, in your True Serum video, I think Tom had one of my favorite
Yeah.
ones, Strachan, where he was just like really hyping up Drake London. Yeah, I think Kirk Cousins can connect with London 6 times.
Yes.
And I had Kamara pulled up. There's 5 picks here. Should we send this one in and then we can do one
Yeah.
more Sands promo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one will cap out at 10 on you.
Oh, this is $10. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was looking at the Kamara projections. Those are those are appealing to me.
Okay, let's get that in there. We'll get our specials out.
Yeah, just submitted that one. You might have a different special than me in the chat with that pick'em. So just like plug your own in if you don't have the same one as me. But I think 4 receptions for Kamara is like no question.
The receptions was going to be the one that I immediately gravitated to. I don't trust him on the rushing yards.
No way.
I like the receptions though.
And just a little peek ski at Chuba. They've got him for 15 rushing attempts. So if nothing else, like let this just be a vote of confidence for the battle royales.
Yeah.
We can venture back over to rivals if you'd like, or if you want to check out your Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm making a pick 'em for the Deposit Kingdom video.
Oh, okay.
And so I definitely but I will definitely go back to one here. I think the JSN line looked awesome to me. I mean, honestly, all the Seattle stuff. Like, I just kind of want to lean into them being more aggressive, pushing the ball downfield, being a little less run heavy than they were last year.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to do fantasy points with JSN?
Yeah, I think that's probably the way. You wouldn't do touchdown. Don't love longest reception. I guess it would be receiving yards or fantasy points.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some homework on longest reception.
How many do we have? I thought I had 5 in mine already.
Oh, I submitted my special. Sorry, we might have been off the page there. I submitted.
Oh, gotcha.
I had 5 with my special.
Okay. Yeah, I swapped out the special for the Kamara is what I thought I had.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let's
I see Deontay receptions in the chat. I would love to check that out.
Yeah.
4.5. I mean, I would definitely take the higher on that.
Yeah, take the higher. Let's call this will be our last one. We'll call it the receptions merchant.
Okay.
Entry here. We got to get Keenan. This is gonna be if we're gonna do a receptions merchant, let's get Keenan in here.
PPR scam right here.
Yeah, over 4.5.
Yeah, that's simple. You know what I was thinking, and you know we don't have to do this right away, but I would definitely endorse. Okay, well this got docked. I thought this was a straight pick 'em. 2.5 receptions for Javonte. I was gonna give an endorse for, but now that it's kind of docked a little bit, it feels less exciting. But I do like him catching the ball with Bo Nix at the helm.
Oh, I got one for you, dude. Go look at the receptions on Rachaad White.
Oh, come on.
Dude, rip it in.
Oh, holy shit.
Rip it in. 3? Come on.
It's 4. We got 4.
No, I'm saying his number is 3 receptions.
Oh, yeah. 3. That's absurd.
All right, let's get one more for our receptions merchant theme.
I'm looking at these games, thinking I wonder what Josh Palmer's receptions are. We don't have anything.
They're
for
not
him.
Hanging it.
They're scared.
Just out of curiosity, what's the lad? Do they have a lad receptions in here? No receptions,
but okay. 7.95 fantasy points. That feels fair. But what about Terry? You know, he's the only show in town there. 4.5, but it's a little docked. But
you know who else? I mean, this doesn't go with the it's a Monday or it's a Thursday game, but we could start it off with Rashee Rice, who was a huge reception merchant last year at 5.
Yeah, what are we looking at for him?
5.5. It's only 0.8 too. So yeah, let's steer clear of that. Does the chat have a good receptions merchant here? That
Deontay Gobert, Wandale, King Dortch brother. Any real suggestions? I'll listen to.
Let me see if I can come up with. We're trying to like. It's definitely like kind of a mid-tier guy, um, who's more of a PPR scam.
Yeah,
What's Godwin? Or we already have Rashad White. I don't want to do Godwin.
yeah, that's true.
Any
James
good
Cook
ones in the
two and a
chat?
half.
Yeah, what's Jaleel? Crutch is just
He's only
suggested
touchdowns.
Oh, only touchdowns. Bummer. Someone said Jane Reed. I don't. He's a little more volatile. We need to our cozy 5.5 target projection here.
Michael Wilson 2.5.
That he is not a receptions merchant. He
He's
doesn't get
not,
that.
but I'm just like that was my bags talking.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna find one here. I'm scrolling through.
Right now, Ramondre piques my interest at 2.5 with Spice.
Yeah. Do you know what? How about what's your boy? What's Ridley at?
He is indeed my boy.
Man,
No receptions.
No receptions. God.
Yeah,
just can't get a reception.
It's a lot of question marks on him, and the volume there, so they don't.
How about Diggs? 5 receptions. First game, this guy coming out begging for the ball.
I do like that. I'm in on Diggs this season. So
this is a clean 20x. We got to lock this
Beautiful.
in. This is the reception merchant theme.
Reception merchant, PPR scam central here, folks.
In half PPR. No, but we don't. All we need. We don't care about the scoring system. We just need to clear.
Yeah, wait. What? Underdog's half point PPR. This one is a pick 5, 25 to win 500. Alvin Kamara higher than 4 receptions. Deontay Johnson higher 4.5 receptions. Keenan Allen higher 4.5 receptions. Rashad White higher 3 receptions. Stephon Diggs higher 5 receptions. Man, it feels so good to be back.
It's been great, dude. Love getting to walk through this slate. Our boy John was missing because he's flying out to Vegas, but all 3 of us will be back in the saddle next Friday. That show will be at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. I'll do my show with JM on my channel, and we'll hop over here for a 2 or a 3 o'clock, or what do we say? 2:30 kickoff, right?
Yeah. 2:30 Eastern. Yep.
2:30, and we'll be able to go a little bit longer most days. I had kind of an abbreviated schedule today. I got to go record this Deposit Kingdom video that I'm excited. So if you're looking for some more BR stuff, I'm going to rip a few drafts in that, a few ideas, go through my 5 kind of hidden gems for the week. So that'll post probably later this week on Friday. But Nez, let the people know what else is going around here for you guys this week.
Yeah, so tomorrow and Friday, I kind of have a busy week going on. I'm trying to slowly but surely close on a house, so a lot going on there. But almost assuredly doing a members only stream tomorrow for the MLB slate, and then I'm definitely going to do some primetime paloozas because I just simply cannot stay away from those. And then on Friday, going to try to do something with John while he's in Vegas. He's got to let me know how that's going to work, but we might do like a goofy little friends and family open door stream on Friday. If you're in Vegas, go see John. But if you're not a member on the Bad Bros channel, go ahead and become a member. Still breaking down baseball season's still going on, still having fun in those streets. So we got you covered.
And I will tell you now, so the Deposit Kingdom Weekly League it has been up for a little over a half an hour, and it's 10% full. That puts us on a fill rate here of, by this evening, this is going to be full. So if you want to get in your 3 entries, I would make sure it's done before tonight. And yeah, going forward, it'll be on Fridays. Well, I'll talk to Hope. We'll get in the lab. We'll see how quickly these are filling and see if we can maybe resize it a bit. But if you want to, max this inaugural one, make sure you get those in tonight, Nez.
Yeah, good shout. That is insane. This is already at 10%.
Yeah. The people love the BRs, man. It's going to be such a massive year for BRs. I mean, you guys were leading the charge 2 years ago. Like, I jumped on the train last year, and now it seems like everyone is piling in to do BRs this year. I can't wait. It's going to be a fun season.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. Everyone's jumping on board. I love it. Can't wait to see how big these things get.
All right, guys. Next time you see us all together will be next Friday. Good luck in week 1. Excited to see all of you guys at the top of the leaderboards. For our friend John, who is not here, for Nez, I'm Pete. This is Off and On the Clock. Good luck this week.